Folks, we ain't even got to the bad part yet. We're still being prepped to be killed. This is not even the bad part. Then they bring Jesus. I said, all right, it's time to go. It's time to go up on the hill. Let's get this thing going. So they bring the cross. Some people say he carried the cross. I've read crossbar. Doesn't matter. He had a big, heavy piece of wood on his back. His back had been ripped by that whip. His raw, bloody, exposed back. And he had that big, heavy piece of wood. Probably weighed anywhere from 100 to 200 pounds, depending on the crossbar or the whole cross. It wasn't a smooth 2x4, and it probably wasn't as smooth as that. This was rough stuff. This wasn't good wood. They used these things over and over, so it probably had somebody else's blood on it, somebody else's sweat. And they said he had to carry this thing, I don't know how far, I think 400 or 500 yards maybe. He had to drag this thing after all that. He made it about halfway by himself. He had a little help to make it the rest of the way. When they got there, they laid him out on that cross. They took nails that would make this thing look like a thumbtack. I would say it's probably twice as long as that and about that big around. And they drove them through the single most nerve-sensitive parts of your body, your hands and your feet. They stuck him to that cross. I would imagine that by the time that nail went in, his body probably just jerked uncontrollably from the pain and shock. And they raised that big old cross up, and they dropped it in that hole violently. And when it hit the bottom, I don't want to imagine what that felt like. And he's hanging there, and he looks out at this crowd that's gathered, and he looks out and he sees his enemies. He sees those people that lied and made those stories up about him. He sees his friends. He sees his family. All he can hear out there is a crowd mocking him, making fun of him. People hollering out stuff. What kind of God are you? You can't even save yourself. If you're God, come on, get out. Let's see it. Let's see, big guy. Do it. Let's go. They holler, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. And the only words he ever spoke back were words of love and grace and mercy. You know, when I get backed up into a corner, I'm not going to be that nice to you. Just tell you that right now. The only words he said were words of love. He looked down there and he saw his mother. Told John, he said, John, take care of your mom. Mom, take care of your son. The criminal hanging beside and looked over and he said, I believe in you. I believe in you. Please remember me on that day. And Jesus looked over and he said, today you'll be with me in paradise, buddy. He cried out, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who I am. Please, God, forgive them. That's his defense. He cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he knew it was his time. And he said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. He hung his head and he died. Right there. That's what Jesus endured for you and me. You know, there's a price to pay for sin before God, and the penalty of that sin is death. eternally in hell. The penalty is owed of you, and it's required of you. But you see, all of that penalty that we owed was paid right there by Jesus Christ. You know, we had a little fun earlier, and we sang the song out of the hymn book, Jesus paid it all. Right? That's what it's talking about right there. He paid all of our debts, of all of our sin that we'll ever have, because He was that perfect, sinless sacrifice that was required. But the beauty of it was that 3 days later, He got up and walked out of there. That's the part I like. Now, now maybe you'll understand me when I say what irks me is when we go on these youth trips and I see these full of energy. Jesus died for your sins. Jesus died for your sins. Knowing what I just told you now changes the tone of that to me. It's like, Logan, Jesus died for your sins. That's what it sounds like to me. It's like, why can't you get it through your head? He went through that. That's what He did. He did that for you. It's not, hey, Jesus died for your sins. It's true. I just don't like the tone of it. But you know, all of Jesus asked, He endured all of that pain. And you know what He wants in return? You know the payback He wants? It's not how many old people you can hug or how many babies you can handle. It's not how many good deeds you can do. All He says, all He wants out of us is to believe and follow Him. That's it. It's not really that hard. He wants you to believe in your heart, and He wants you to follow Him. Andy, how do you follow Him? What's that mean? What does that mean? How do you follow Him? What do you do? This is where this comes in handy. First thing you got to do is you got to start reading one of these. I know guys don't like reading instructions, but you know what happens when we try to do something or put something together without the instructions? It's usually a mess. I have to drive a lot, travel a lot with my job, and you know, I'm not going anywhere unless I MapQuest it first. But now I've got this fancy GPS thing, so I'm plugging that in because you don't want to be lost in the hills of North Georgia. I assure you that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything without some instructions. And this is my instruction book. It's your instruction book that was handed down from the big guy. All right? You got to start reading it. I can't understand it. I can't understand it. See, that's not an excuse anymore because there's about 20 translations of the Bible. Some of them say things like homeboy, venom, you know. I can read the Bible now. If you want the Bible that you can understand, see me after this and I will give you one. I've got a bunch of them. If I don't have one on me, I will buy you one. There's no excuse for not reading this thing anymore. So let me read something to you about following. I was chasing rabbits, sorry. Luke 9:23 pretty much lays it out for us. What he's doing right here, he's talking to the crowd. He just has fed the 5,000 fish. The 5,000 people. Feeding 5,000 fish, that's not a miracle, is it? Alright, so he took a basket full of food and he fed 5,000 people. Alright, so he's just done this. He's talking to the disciples. There's a crowd gathered around. Where there's a crowd, there's a message. Okay? Here's what he tells them. If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. But what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words, of him, the Son of Man, will be ashamed when he comes in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels.